Hi, it's Alex Counts again. This will be part 2 of a two-part series of what to do if the nonprofit employee is not succeeding. Now, my basic message is to be decisive, but to be humane, to move fairly quickly, but do so in a way that you would want to be treated if you were the one being terminated. I go through 2 examples of this where I had to let employees go in Grameen Foundation that turned out much better than I feared because I followed some of these steps and avoided some of the pitfalls that I mentioned in the earlier video. Now, the first thing you want to make sure is an employee really failing and not succeeding in their role? Sometimes you as a manager, as a leader, you may have one opinion, but others may have other opinions and they may be right. The person may be doing better than you think, or an employee that you think is doing well may be failing. We had something in Grameen Foundation called a talent review, where every 6 months the leaders of the organization would get together and talk about every single employee, and all the leaders would get to weigh in. If a manager thought their employee was succeeding, but their peers thought they were not, he or she would have to take that on board. So you really want to be sure that your analysis of whether an employee is not succeeding is correct. And then you want to try to support them. Give them a chance to turn things around. Don't do that forever. Some people go on for years doing that, but give them a chance, give them support. Some will be able to do it. But once you've made the decision to let someone go, then you need to lay the groundwork. You need to do some documentation about what's happened in case there is a lawsuit or someone else needs to see a justification. Now, your HR and legal team, if you have one, may ask for extensive documentation. Push back a little bit. Good is sometimes good enough when it comes to documentation. Don't go in empty-handed though. And also you may need to lay the groundwork. Let's say this employee is some fans on the board or has some strong supporters among the staff. You may want to take them aside before or after you let them go and explain why you did what you did and ask for their views and advice potentially. But then once you're there, choose a place that will be comfortable to the person you're letting go, where you're going to talk to them. Think carefully about whether you want to have someone there with you, a third party. A lot of times they'll want to have a lawyer or an HR person there. I think that makes people on their guard. Might be right in some cases. I like to do it for the most part, just me and the employee, and it makes it more of a human interaction, but sometimes that's not possible. I want to be pretty direct with what I'm doing, that their employment is going to come to an end whenever we're going to propose that be. But I want to do it empathetically. I want to say that, not that they've failed as an employee, but just the fit wasn't right, sometimes is a nice way to put it. Express empathy, that you understand that they may be digesting this, it may be hard for them. And you want to do it in a way that respects their dignity, their professionalism, that doesn't call into question that they're basically a good professional, a good human being, just that this role didn't work out. You want to talk about severance. You probably aren't going to be required to give them a severance package, depending on your contract with them, but that doesn't mean you can't. And doing that will buy you some goodwill, help them move into the next part of their lives. So think about that. Push your finance team, may be reluctant, but you need to make the ultimate decision if you're the leader. And then offer help with outplacement, getting in their next job if they want it. They may not want it, that's okay, but you can offer it. And what will happen, I think, is that you despite people being afraid that you'll be subject to a lawsuit, and probably will never come. I've never had any case of that my whole career, and I've let quite a number of people go. I've had hundreds and hundreds of employees, so it's still a small percentage, but it adds up. I found that most people really land on their feet, 1 or 2 exceptions. They end up in a job that they like better, they're thriving at. The employees who had to cover for this employee are happy. Maybe a few of them think it was the wrong decision, but most will recognize that you made a tough call that will benefit the organization. You'll see is that the bad-mouthing of the person, of the organization, they're going to be bitter if they're let go. In the short term, they're going to say some negative things perhaps about you and the organization. That's okay. You can deal with that. But by dealing with it empathetically and professionally and in a humane way and in a decisive way, it'll limit that to a manageable amount. And long term, I found that some people I've let go, once they make their peace with that decision, that they start speaking well of the organization, opening doors for it, being helpful to you. It's been really great to see. So when it comes to employees not succeeding, give them a chance, give them support, make sure your analysis of their lack of success is correct, but then move quickly, move decisively, do it empathetically, do it in a humane way, and you'll see you and ultimately they and the organization and the mission will benefit.